This is the Succulent String Art Kit tutorial. You will need the string art kit and a pair of scissors. The first thing that you'll do is take a picture directly above your board. You're going to rip the paper off and you're going to lose all your lines, so your picture will be your reference. After you take that picture, go ahead and remove the paper. Go ahead and grab the organza bag that came with your kit and pull out the green yarn that you chose. Grab the piece of yarn that's wrapped around the middle and unravel it. And then the yarn was folded in half, so go ahead and find the two ends and unfold it. This should hopefully help avoid tangles with the yarn as you go. Starting with the end of the string that you unraveled, go ahead and do a little loop up in the air. This is how I start my knots. We're going to start on the second leaf. Go ahead and slip that knot on that top nail, pull it tight, and make sure you push it all the way down to the base of the board. Once the knot is secured, go ahead and outline that first leaf that we're going to work in. This will help you see the outline of it so you know exactly where we're going to be stringing. I like to loop around every couple nails just to help secure that outline. And like with the knot, we're going to make sure you push that yarn all the way down to the base of the board. That is a super important step this whole entire string art process. Now that the outline is finished, we will start filling in. I like to start up at the top, and we're just going to zigzag all the way down, back and forth from one side of the leaf to the other. And like previously mentioned, make sure you're pushing the yarn to the base of the nails. Now that we have finished that layer and we've gotten to that bottom point, we're going to go ahead and start with our second layer. You can either go over to the left side of the leaf or the right side. It doesn't matter which, we're just adding in a second layer. The first two layers on each leaf are more just filler layers. It's making sure that the wood gets covered a little more so, but it's also building up the height of the yarn. Second layer's finished, now for the important layers. These top two layers are going to be the length of the actual leaves, so they'll be from that top point to the bottom point. So how I like to figure this out is finding this nail right here and going to the one above it, and then we'll go down to the one below it. This usually will be the direction that your yarn should be going for these final layers. And so just go ahead and go from there to finish out this layer. Once that first layer is finished, we're going to look at how it lines up, and it's a little bit offset. So the second layer, we're just going to correct it and slightly shift over our yarn so it's going to be straighter from that bottom point to the top point. If your first layer turns out, then just go ahead and do a second one slightly offset, and it'll just help fill in any little gaps that you might have. So after those 4 layers, you can see the yarn goes up half the height of the nail. That is perfect. Now that we've finished filling it in, we're going to go ahead and add an outline to the top half of the leaf. This will just give it a nice smooth finish. If you chose this variegated yarn, you're just going to go ahead and move on to the next leaf without cutting your yarn. We're just going to do the exact same thing that we did with that first leaf for the remaining leaves. Always starting with an outline of the whole entire leaf. And then making sure you're pushing it all the way down as far as it'll go. And then start with your first layer, going up the width of the leaf, and then back down diagonally. First 2 layers are done, so now you're going to add in those length layers. For this leaf, it should be that top point and about halfway across the base of this leaf. To help prevent gaps in this layer, I will use the nails in the bowl and go all the way down to help fill in all those spaces. I refer to these as sneak through pieces. They will get covered up later, but these just help keep your pattern looking super nice and neat. That first length layer is done, so now we're going to go on to number 2 and slightly shift it over so the bottom goes a little bit more to the right. Again, this step is kind of more up to your judgment. If yours lines up how you like, then just slightly offset it just to fill in any sort of gaps that might be poking through. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, we try to unfold the yarn to avoid these knots and tangles, but they are almost inevitable. When you come upon a knot, just kind of pull the yarn in different ways and it should hopefully release it. 4 layers for this leaf are finished, so now we're going to outline the upper half. And now we are on to leaf 3. So by now you should understand those steps that we take to fill in these leaves. Start with your outline, 4 layers, and then finish with your outline again. When working on those length layers, if you feel like it's leaning too far to one side, you can either undo it or just correct it like I did. I just backed up one nail on the bottom and carried on. If at some point in the process you come to a knot that is just too hard to untangle and you don't want to fight it too much, just go ahead and cut the yarn and we'll tie it off and start a new one. So how I tie off is just making a little loop in my yarn again and then tucking it onto a nail and pulling it tight. And then with that little end piece, I will just bring it back into the middle of the leaf and then use my scissors to poke it in between the layers. This will help hold it. Now you should have a little easier time trying to untangle the yarn. And the same method before, I make a little loop, tuck it onto that nail, pull it tight, and tuck that end in for a new knot. And you can just continue on. When you're finished with the leaves, we'll go ahead and tie off. I cut my yarn a little bit longer just to make it easier to make that loop. Then you'll just take that loop, tuck it onto the nail, pull it tight, and you're good. Trim that strand about 1/2 inch and then use your scissors to poke it in between the layers. And just like that, the leaves are finished. Here is a closer look at what they should look like. Now it's time to string in the bowl. Grab the organza bag and the yarn color that you chose. Find that middle strand that goes around the whole bundle and unravel it. Before you start stringing the bowl, I do suggest to go back through and push down the yarn at the base of the leaves just to give you plenty of room for your layers on the bowl. So just like when we started each leaf, we're going to outline the entire bowl. Make sure to push the yarn down to the base of the nails. There is not a specific way that I like to fill in this bowl. You're just going to do layers in all different directions to fill it in. When you like how it looks, go ahead and add that outline, and we are finished. When you are finished with your kit, please feel free to send me pictures. I love to see how my customers do, and let me know if you like this tutorial. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more tutorials.